The primary purpose of Innovative AAC Solutions, the podcast, is to educate and inform. The views expressed during all episodes are solely those of the individuals involved and do not constitute educational or medical advice. They are not necessarily the views of Special School District of St. Louis County. We are back. It is Innovative AAC Solutions Season 6. Bridget, welcome back from summer. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? How was your summer?
I'm great. I am so excited. Last season, we did everything on Gestalt language processing, and I thought we would switch it up this season. And I thought we would tackle something that you and I hear about a lot, which is how do we get carryover? What does that look like? What does carryover for our AAC users look like? So I'm curious, what do you hear? What is the biggest barrier when it comes to carryover for some of our AAC users?
I would say the number one thing is education of adults in these students' lives. So just making sure that adults are really well informed on what is the goal that the student is working on? Why is communication important? What really is autonomous versus independent communication, which, we know to be student is able to say whatever they want, whenever they want, to whomever they want at all times. So I feel like that's the biggest overarching goal, but also having simply access to their communication device. And I feel like those are, the big tenets of barriers to carry over and barriers to seeing real progress and real success in these students' lives.
Yeah. Oh, I love that because I do think when we think about communication, it is interdependent. And I think sometimes we in our silos are like, okay, we're going to do this and this is an extension, but it's in the way or it's something that I can't wrap my head around. And, or maybe even the concept that it's their device, I'm not going to be in charge of it. I don't feel comfortable with it. But communication is interdependent. And so autonomous communication is something that is supported when we do collaborate, when we do think about how we can, as adults, intersect everything we know about language and model and encourage use and build that autonomy through, again, interdependent communication, not like, oh, it's theirs, they're going to use it, or I'm going to tell them to use it, and that's the end of it. Um, and I actually have a team that I'm thinking of that would be great for our listeners to hear because they have broken down those silos and they do have a collaborative team approach. So I want to introduce you to this team at Riverview Gardens, Melissa Collings, Morganne Blechle, and Emily Faust, because they are a team that are really making some things happen. And I got to sit down with them and just pick their brain about what's working for them. So I want you guys to all hear it. Let's lead into our interview with that team. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Innovative AAC Solutions. I'm here with three wonderful people here at SSD. I'm going to let them introduce themselves because Morgan, Emily, and Melissa are doing some amazing things, and we just really want to highlight the power of collaboration. This episode, as you know, is all about the season is all about generalization with AAC. And we knew that they would have some gems and takeaways for other teams that might be struggling or need some ideas or just really want to see the power of what can happen when you work as a team. So thank you guys so much for coming on today. I'm so excited to have you. I just want to give a brief introduction about who you are, what your role is, and just your journey where you're at, where you've been and where you're at now with AAC.
Yeah, thank you for having us. I can go ahead and start. My name is Morganne Blechle. I'm the speech therapist here at Glasgow Elementary in the Riverview Gardens School District. This is my fourth year being an SLP, my second year with Special School District. I graduated in 2021 from Fontbonne with my degree in speech language pathology, and I would say my experience in grad school was very minimal with AAC. I probably had one class about AAC just kind of in my grad school experience, and I didn't really get hands-on experience until I started my first couple years in the field through early childhood. So it was very much learning on the field as far as AAC, how it went. So it's been a very trial and error journey for me, but I've gotten a lot more familiar with it, and really it's been an area I have a lot of, I would say, I really like overall AAC. I'm very interested in it, skill area I really love. And I would say since I've been here with Riverview Gardens through SSD, working in our program rooms, I've gotten really familiar with AAC, and it's probably most of my day with our kids that we have here. So yeah, that's about me.
My name's Emily Faust. I'm an occupational therapist. I float between a couple schools in Riverview Gardens, primarily in our program self-contained classrooms. I also, being an OT school, we really did not touch on AAC at all. I had no idea what that looked like. This is my 5th or 6th year in Riverview now. And I was not familiar at all until I came to these programs and saw kids carry on iPads. And I was like, I need to know more about that. And I've been really lucky to work with some really good SLPs who have taught me a lot, and really seeing the value in AAC just throughout the school day, not only just in OT or speech, but just across the school day, really increasing participation in meaningful occupations. So it's meant a lot in even just our OT area too.
And not last but not least, Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa Collings. I'm one of the behavior analysts in Riverview Gardens. And my background with AAC is not as robust as I'd like. I was previously a special ed teacher, so I had some experience with it there, but I primarily learned about it when I came to SSD. It doesn't hurt that some of my very best friends are SLPs, and so that's kind of my experience, is just being in the program and working with some teachers and SLPs who really, really used it right. And so I continue to learn every day.
I think we all do. Like I said, it's one of those areas where I feel like even in our specialty area where it's like all we do, we breathe it, right?
Mhm.
I think that every single day I'm like, oh, there's a new thing, or oh, there's a new tool or technology piece, or there's an update. I think we had 2 this week, 2 updates. I'm like, oh, it's job security, right? So
Definitely.
even, back when I'm a little older than you, Morgan, but we had one class and all of that technology is antiquated. I think the only thing that's still around is a Big Mac. So,
Right.
it's only as good as much as you can keep up on. So, trying to stay on top of that for our students' benefits. The other thing, this is all about generalization, the benefits to carryover. I want to just start there. So, you guys work as a team. And I would love for you to highlight how the benefits of carryover, how is it going for you guys throughout the day for your students? How do you make that work? Any tips or tricks, or just maybe give an overview of what it looks like for your students in your program?
Well, I would say this is my first experience where I love working with Emily. We are very collaborative, and I would say my previous school district, I knew of the OTs, but it was kind of like we were on different islands as far as like, services, as far as AAC devices, but we are very collaborative. I'd say we push in a lot with the kids. On Wednesday, we do co-treatment with our 2 program rooms where we do a lesson, whether it's like cooking class. This week we planted a flower with the kids. So we kind of do tag team as far as like their AAC devices, and then put OT in there as well. So it's definitely been my first time, collaborating with an OT. And I feel like when we go in there and work with the pairs and everything, everybody kind of knows their AAC systems. I think push in The paras kind of get to see and trial as far as working with the kids during that time. So I would say that's really been a pro, the co-treatment part of it.
And I
Let me,
think,
oh, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say we also started a snack cart program. So on Friday afternoons, our kids, specifically those who use AAC, are out in the community, which I think I've seen a huge increase in buy-in from the whole school community. And I think that's been really great. Because I think for a long time, people think of, oh, those are the SSD kids and those are their classrooms and they do their own thing. But now they're a part of the wider community. And now I think teachers have a better sense of what AAC is and how that they can communicate with these kids way more than they thought they ever could.
I love that. One thing I wanted to touch on because I really like how you guys brought in the para involvement, and I think that that can sometimes be a barrier for some teams. So, do you feel like having that kind of team approach where you're co-treating and coming in together as a group has helped with that, or what do you think has been the catalyst for that, so that everybody has that culture of like we're all doing this, we're all modeling, we're all in it together?
I would say it at least gives an environment to where the paras are like, okay, here is how me and Emily are targeting specific things on the AAC devices. I feel like it was a lot different at the beginning of the school year with kind of the paras kind of, more so looking at what we were doing. Because AAC devices too, all of them have different softwares. Like a lot of them work with LAMP. Some of them have touch chat, Proloquo to go. So it is a lot too on the paras of being like, okay, who has whose program? Like, how do I find these buttons on here? But I think at least us being in there, we're able to help the paras as far as like, okay, here's how so-and-so does device, here's how you find that. And I've even seen some carryover with the paras too, like doing word finder and being able to do that and knowing just kind of some of the minute things as far as like the AAC programs, like how to turn the volumes up in there. And like even some paras have been like, oh, like, can we go ahead and edit and put some buttons in? So I think I've seen some buy-in with some of the paras as far as like doing the push in. Kind of put them, I think, at the beginning of the school year where they're like, oh, what are these? Like, how do we, what do we do with these? But I think as the year's been going on, they've been getting more and more comfortable with it. So,
I think also to add on to that is I have two really fantastic RBTs
mhm.
that utilize the AAC device constantly, and they're always in the classroom and they're always using the device. If a kid's not using it, they're quick to say, "Hey, can you grab your talker? Don't forget to bring it to ABA." So I think just like in general, like because we've kind of created this environment where like it's just the expectation, like I mean, nothing's perfect. We definitely always have room to grow, but I think like when that's just the expectation, when we set the bar here and like we're modeling it, we're constantly like reminding them, it just kind of becomes the expectation.
Yeah, I love that. Like just you're just building the culture from the ground up and modeling by example. And then you gave an example about planting a flower. So could you give the listeners maybe what give us the kind of the rundown or give us some examples about what did that look like for each of you? Were you picking some core words or were you picking some high motivational phrases? And then Emily, were you working on fine motor at the time or how did that all intersect?
Yeah, so I can go ahead. We have in our program rooms, we have some Gestalt language processors. So I always try to put some scripts in there for them as far as like in addition to core words, because we kind of have a whole array of kids that are working on different things. And when we go in and do push in, it kind of looks different for each child. So whenever we planted the flower, we were using some core words like put in, go up, things like that. We were also using fringe words, kind of teaching them about the vocabulary like plant, seed, flower. They were able to kind of find those on their AAC devices as well as like dirt and things. So we were using like core words and fringe words during the lesson. And then at the end, we actually have a couple kids that love, love, love and get scripts from the Lorax. So we did Let It Grow, the song, for them. And they just, yeah,
That was a big hit.
it was a big hit for the kids, especially the ones that get a lot of scripts from that song. So I feel like every time we do a push-in lesson, we try to kind of mix it for the kids that are Gestalt language processors and then the kids that are using more of like the core words and overall language functions. So
Yeah, and I think the activity was really perfect too to also work on some of those fine motor things. We have some kids in there who really benefit for working on pinching the seed or scooping and pouring the dirt. And also just the whole sensory experience of just like different materials. Um, and then kind of toward the end, after we planted, we also talked about what we did, and then we worked on cutting out little pictures and put them in order of the sequencing. So kind of that executive function too of planning and then also kind of going over what we had just done and what's going to happen next. Because unfortunately, with planting a seed, it doesn't grow right away. So we kind of talked too about, okay, we did this and now this is going to happen next. And also just putting some scissor skills and gluing and pasting in here too.
I love it. And I love how you guys kind of just pulled it all together. And did you guys pre-plan? Like, are you guys, let's go into this. So resource wise, so yes, you're collaborating. Yes, you're doing things on the fly. Yes, you're co-reading. Yes, you're in constant communication. But are there resources or tools that you guys use as a team, whether it be carry over to ABA or carry over to the classroom, that you feel are really successful for you guys and your teaming approach?
I mean, I think just being in the building and passing by people and just building those relationships. Like I think we have really good relationships with obviously Melissa and even her RBTs and the paras. Like I think that's been really helpful. As far as resources go, I don't know, do you have
we do, well, kind of our Wednesdays, we kind of mix it up with the kids. We were starting more at the beginning of the school year doing cooking group because that's what they did last year. And that was really a big hit for most of the kids. And so we were kind of doing cooking group at the beginning where we were using Accessible Chef to kind of make some of those recipes for the kids to make it to where their AAC devices are being utilized during that time. And it makes it with the visuals very easy for the kids to follow along. So we've kind of been using Accessible Chef throughout the school year. As the school year has been going on, we've kind of made our own like PowerPoint slideshow of like the visual schedule for the kids so they know like what the format is at the beginning. They always greet each other. At the end, they always say goodbye. And in the middle there, they always have a language activity and then OT after that. So I would say, you know, as our school year's been going on, we've kind of been pulling more resources. But I think the kids kind of have gotten an idea throughout the school year of like, okay, this is the same format each time we come in. So, you know, they know what to expect every time.
Yeah,
So
I think the visual schedules, now that you said,
yes.
been really helpful. And I think we've pulled a lot of that from ABA too, and just
Yes.
seeing like their use of visuals so that it is general across all their settings.
I think something that I would just add to that is I think the reason why it works so well is because we all have the same goal. Like we all don't center ourselves in our services. Like we follow a lot, like privately, we follow a lot of the people that, you know, we serve in this community. And so I think because we all have that like similar mindset and like we're all trying to grow, it's super easy. Like we all share an office too, so that helps. But I think we can get a lot done in a 15-minute chat that I think because we're not centering ourselves and we're not like trying to like, well, it's just about an SLP or it's just about ABA or just OT. Like we all recognize that we are all headed in the same direction. So I think that we're always learning from each other too. I mean, constantly.
Yeah, and I think that really
So
the examples that you give and the way you do that in the day to day, I think are really applicable for listeners in the sense that we don't work in silos. You can do it because I think a lot of people feel that um that disruption of there's so much going on and there's so many different things, but if we can tailor it and so we're all centering with the students in mind and we kind of use those same goals, use that same approach together, we can work smarter, not harder, and we can work together more. So I really like how you guys have highlighted that big picture and kind of getting into the details because I think that's really what teams are trying they're aiming for, they're striving for. You mentioned one of the barriers that I often hear, which is that students have different devices and softwares and pages and all of the things that we're like, good gravy. What are we going to do with all of this? How have you guys troubleshooted that? You mentioned Word Finder, but what tips or tricks would you say have worked best for having multiple students, whether it be different language styles, Gestalt language processors versus analytic? Just a quick reminder, if you don't know if that phrase is new to you, Gestalt language processor, we have a whole season on it, so go back to last season and listen to some of those episodes. But knowing there's different language styles and different softwares, and you have all the different goals, and you have all the different, styles of learning, how do you guys make that work?
Yeah, well, I would say, it is interesting having so many kids with different softwares. I think all of the kids, though, are interested in everybody else's AAC devices, which is awesome. Like, we have kids that are working on TD Snap, but he comes in and he looks at LAMP and he tries to explore it and everything. So I think it's a learning curve for the kids that they're interested in, and also for the paras and the teachers. Our AAC facilitator is Sarah Couch, is great as far as coming in and kind of debriefing the team on like, okay, here's this new student we came in, or here's a transfer student, here is what, their AAC device looks like, kind of letting us know off the bat, this is what it is, and relating it to like, okay, so and so also has this one, but it looks a little bit different. And here's how you find, vocabulary on there. Because even daily with me too, like I trip up and sometimes I have to get myself in the uncomfortable position of like, okay, where do I find this word? So I think with the kids too, just being like very open of like, yeah, I'm struggling a little bit to find this word as well. Like, let's find it together. So I think just kind of having, going in there with them to be like, it's a learning curve for all of us. Like, none of this is perfect. We learn as we go has been great, as well as like Sarah Couch just coming in with the education piece with it.
Yeah, for me,
I think that's exactly what I have to do too, Morgan. Sorry, Emily. But I'm the least student facing out of the three of us, and so I probably have the least amount of practice. So I would say almost every single time I sit down to work with a kid, I have to say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I can't find it. Just give me a second, or can you show me where the thing is?" And I think that too, like I think it's given my RBTs and some paras like some grace because they realize like, oh, well, these guys don't know it either. It's fine. We'll get there. Like, I think just in general, modeling messing up is important for adults and kids.
Yep, I love it. Okay. Um, so we talked through your guys' team approach. Before we kind of dive into my last question, I just was curious if you guys have things that we're almost at the end of a chapter here with our students. I'm curious if you have things that you're aiming for in the near or the distant future. Are you guys talking about like what you want to do moving forward, or what does that look like?
I would say as far as like our team here, we kind of like struggled throughout the school year and had questions as far as like, yes, how do we carry over this with our kids into like the gen ed environment? Like, they're comfortable using it in their classrooms. How do we push it out? So I think just we started the snack cart up and running a couple weeks ago with some kids. We've picked like 4 kids that are more comfortable with their AAC devices that we think that would be good candidates for carrying over right off the bat, just to get their toes wet a little bit. And it's going really well. So I would say as far as, that I am so excited to see next school year getting more of the kids involved. So all of the kids eventually at one point can practice and go out and talk to whoever they want to and use their talkers and get comfortable, just outside of their daily routine using it and kind of one setting, like let's get them using it in all of it and get them more comfortable with it. So that's what I'm most excited about going forward.
Yeah, I really like I said earlier, them just getting out in their natural environment of being in school. We have a kiddo who uses an eye gaze device, and he's hilarious because when he sells snacks to teachers, he'll upcharge them and tell them like it's more money than what it actually costs. And the teachers just think it's the funniest thing. And one of them looked at me and said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know he could do that." Like, yeah, like these kids are so capable. And I'm so happy that they have the opportunity to show everything that they know and how social they are and how much they love being a part of the community.
Hmm.
What a totally
Yeah, and I
typical
think
thing for kids to do, right? Like it's not $3, it's $5. I'll
Yes,
pocket the rest.
exactly.
What were you gonna say,
he's
Melissa?
the funniest kid. I was just gonna say, I think also something we've tried in the past, just to share a failure, is we tried to do centers with all three of us in a pull-out setting, and it was just kind of a disaster because we didn't have enough time and all of that stuff. So I definitely would love for us to figure that out, and I think I would even love for us to do it inside the classroom, speaking to that generalization piece, because we do find that the kids are a little more comfortable because a lot of us use play-based instruction. And so like it's a little bit different than in the classroom. And so I think that would definitely be my hope for something that we could do in the future for sure.
So let me piggyback off that, Melissa, because I think you mentioned something that is really difficult for some educators and teams, which is play-based instruction. What does that look like for you? And what is that? How have you guys carried that over within your sessions?
Yeah,
What
for
does it look
me.
like for me?
Yeah,
Go ahead. No,
anyone.
you go ahead, Morgan.
For me, at least, I like to do like a hybrid approach of like the push in, and then all of the kids at least get one instance throughout the week where it's one-on-one play based. At the beginning of the year, because I am new to Glasgow, this is my first year here. It was kind of very touch and go, is trying to figure out like, okay, what are their preferred activities? But now I got it like down pat. So usually whenever they come in for one-on-one, we are most often on the carpet for a lot of the kids that are comfortable with that. We also have a sensory swing in our room, which is great for the kids. So usually a lot of the times too, we like do our activities in the swing. So it's always kind of like our one-on-one activities are all play-based where I get to see like, okay, like I have 30 minutes with you a week to where I am bringing out like your heavily preferred item and let's talk about it and let's build upon it. So that's been really fun with the kids to have that opportunity and a space to where, they can play and have, resources such as a sensory swing, because I've never seen that before at a school. So it's great.
Yeah, it's been nice. I would say for like me, when I do more pull-out sessions, trying to be as play-based as possible and really just breaking out of that model of having to sit at a desk and do work. Because I think that is part of school, and there is a part of their day that's like that. But if we can really make it as fun as possible and motivating, I feel like we get so much more out of our kids. So yeah, we spend a lot of time in the swing. We get a lot more things done in there than we would ever at a chair and a desk.
Definitely. And I think that that's really big in ABA. And I think that I find that when people walk into the ABA room, which we're very fortunate to have in Riverview, especially Glasgow, I mean, I'm so thankful for that room. So we have an ABA room, and if somebody walks in and it looks like we're just playing, and that's the best compliment ever, and they think that they're insulting me. They're like, all they do is play in there. And I'm like, yeah. And I actually put a little scanner outside the classroom so you could see all their growth from the year, um, which was probably unnecessary. But I think there's just so many opportunities to learn. I mean, with my own children, like they're playing constantly and that's how they're learning. So I just need to meet the kids where they're at, and we do so much playing. Like that's what we do, and that's how we get as much growth as we do. So definitely meeting them where they're at and breaking the narrative of everything has to be tabletop.
Oh, I love that so much. And I think it goes back to, I think people think that because we're playing, we're not there's the
Hmm.
evidence isn't there like to support it has to be an academic curriculum, but they intersect so in fact, I can't remember the exact numbers, but there's some statistic out there that says it would take over 300 opportunities for someone to learn a word or a concept, but when it's done in play, it only takes 16 or something like that. It's significantly less. I don't know if you guys remember it, but I don't remember the exact numbers. I just remember that it is significantly less. The data supports that when you do things through play, that it actually enhances the neural pathways, the cognitive linguistic learning, and all of that good stuff. So I love that you guys are highlighting that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I will not let you guys leave though before I ask the question, which we ask everybody who comes on the podcast, which is if and when, what is your favorite moment, AAC moment to date? Might be the same moment, it could be different, but what would that be for each of you?
I would say we had a student earlier this year who didn't he just always wanted to be somewhere else. Like no matter where he was, he wanted to leave and go somewhere else. And he I think AC was new to him. He got it in like August, and this was September, October. So very, very new. He was a kindergartner. And he came up to me. I was in their classroom doing push-in, and he kept saying, go, 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 go. And I told him, like, buddy, I'm sorry, we can't go. We're doing group in here. And he looked at me, looked back at his talker, turned the volume all the way up, and then kept saying, go, go, go. I'm like, oh my God, you're yelling at me. Like, that's what you're doing right now. The answer is still no, but thank you for telling me.
I love that.
Yes, that was a great, story for him. Yeah. One of the other ones I would really say, because he did that to us all the time. And I was like, this is so incredible that you have picked up this AAC device and the power of it like so quick. Um, One of our other kids that is actually doing the snack cart, he uses an eye gaze device. And he honestly, I have so many stories with him to tell throughout the school year because he is honestly so smart. He's like smarter than me. He is so funny. And we brought him into one of the classrooms to sell his snacks, and we kind of have like an overall script that they follow just to make it kind of structured for them. But with him, he always is like, you know what? He's like, I am actually going to tell you all about me first. So he would go in, and instead of him being like, hello, how are you? Would you like a snack? He would go in, he would be like, my name is so and so. My mom is blank. Like, my age is da da da. I like to wrestle, and tell everybody in the class everything about him. So that was really fun. And we actually with him did for April Fool's Day, like a little fart machine thing for him to where he was able to prank people. So that was really fun as well.
Oh my gosh, I think of him too. Like he'd be one of those kids that would eat up any kind of AR. Like if you guys were pulling in AR, like what, like if he was the weatherman, like I could see him just like eating that up. Like put the spotlight on me. Give me all the things. I love it.
He's a really funny kid. Mine was going to be one of his stories too, but I'm going to do a different one just because we got the student, I think last year, yeah. And he came to us and he didn't use his device at all. It was essentially just an accessory. And just as recently as yesterday, he was like navigating multiple pages and like going into requests. And it just like, it's just one of those things that like is just really cool to see because when you get a kid in kindergarten and they can't even request what they want or need, like it's scary, like you want to give them that. And like there was a lot of fear that he wasn't going to get there, and this kid is just running circles around our expectations. And just that was my favorite AC, is that he is just like navigating it like a boss.
I love that. I always say that the ceiling is only as high as what you aim. And so it sounds like the fact that you guys have such high expectations for all of these students, they're really rising to the occasion, rising to the challenge, and having you guys have to set a higher bar as you continue. Like what else can we do? How else can we carry this over? And now thinking about inclusion into Gen Ed and the community. I love it. So if someone had a question regarding, any of your next steps or any of your resources, what would be the best way to get in contact with each of you?
Is like email okay? That's what I say. So my SSD email is just emfaust@ssdmo.org.
And my email is mrblechle@ssdmo.org. And all of us actually share a room at Glasgow Elementary. So if you ever call, Glasgow's, Glasgow's front office, you'd reach our secretary, Jackie, and she would be able to direct you to any of us. So.
Mhm. And my email is macollings@ssdmo.org.
Perfect. Okay, we'll drop those other resources in the show notes, but on behalf of Innovative AAC Solutions, I just wanted to thank Morgan, Emily, and Melissa for being on today. They're an amazing team. They're doing amazing things, and we can't wait to hear from them in the future. Thanks so much, guys, for being on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. We're back with another fun find, and today I have Create a Burger Sequencing Stacker, and it is a really fun opportunity to practice some following the direction skills and also just commenting and generalizing, maybe like placing an order in a low stakes environment. So the idea is, and I'm a big fan of switching it up and playing games in multiple ways, but one way you could play it is draw a card, have an order, and then follow the directions. But with my students, I would have them tell another person in the group how to create the order. So we'd keep that a secret. And they would say, first bun, next burger, next cheese, then tomato, bun on top, something along those lines. And you get to tell the person how to assemble it. So bun, burger, cheese, tomatoes, bun on top. I don't know where my bun went for the top one, but you get the idea. Oh no, it is the bun on the bottom. I didn't need that one. So you could have a communication repair breakdown scenario because we would take these off. Look, the bun is already on bottom. I would be telling my students that too. And then the bun on top. Then we could comment like, I like cheeseburger with tomato, or I don't like tomato. I want ketchup. And have all sorts of, conversation around this as our centerpiece, but then also potentially talking about like, where do you like to go to get burgers? Where do you like to eat out? And maybe even pulling up those online menus to talk about where you like to eat out. If it's McDonald's or if it's somewhere else, kind of recreating that and having a more generalizable experience in the therapy session. So again, this is Create a Burger Sequencing Stacker. And I think students would have a fun time with getting to tell others directions, following directions, and getting to comment on what they like, and then having that generalization experience, thinking about ordering food and thinking about commenting on restaurants in their own lives. So check it out. It's in the IRC.